Warning. This video contains blood, gore, vermin, confined spaces, and disturbing imagery that may be unsettling to some viewers. As part of a horror campaign, these elements are woven into the story to serve the narrative and atmosphere, not for gratuitous effect or shock alone. Viewer discretion is advised. They awaken in the dark, together, though none of them remembers choosing that mercy. Their bodies are dirty and bruised, the ache of impact lingering in every bone. The air is thick with the sour stench of old refuse and something worse, something like rotting meat and forgotten sins. One moment they recall dancing beneath the moonlight, eyes glazed from wine, mead, and the intoxicating haze of the festival's pleasures. And the next, nothing but darkness and this den of refuse. They steady themselves, wiping dust from their faces and fear from their eyes to look upon each other. One by one, they introduce themselves, voices hushed in the oppressive quiet. Whatever brought them here, whatever waits beyond this cavern, one thing is certain. They are far more likely to survive together than alone. As they leave the crowded cavern, Lancelot's gaze catches on something grotesque, a cluster of rats. Most of them are ordinary vermin, but Rowan notices that some are wrong. Their eyes are wider, the lips stained a richer, hungrier red, and their gaze bright with a feral, almost intelligent bloodlust. Rowan, ever the one to test the boundaries between the natural and the unnatural, reaches out not with her hands, but with her voice. Most of the rats ignore her, too consumed by their feeding, but one turns. In the dim light, it nods to her. Rowan's voice responds in a subtle low and careful. "Is there a way out, little one?" The same rat jaws parts in a voice that sounds like many voices layered on top of one another. "Yes, woman of flesh and earth, through the maw of mine own mouth you will experience an out. You hear, you understand. For that, we will consume you last." There is no time to debate or recoil. The swarm surges as one. The rats mold into a living tide of fur and teeth, wrapping around ankles and arms, biting, clawing, dragging them into a thrashing melee. Steel flashes in the tight, foul corridor. Rowan's boot comes down on the final rat as she breathes a sigh of relief. Their victory is brief. Haroon pauses, the hairs on the back of his neck rising. Beneath the dripping echoes of the sewer, he hears the heavy clank of armor, the measured rhythm of boots pounding on stone, guards running towards the sound of their own battle. They all scramble, frantically searching for a way forward, something, anything that isn't a dead end. As panic fractures their thoughts, Peony feels something else. A familiar pull, dark and intimate, reminiscent of the magic she knew in the cult that raised her. Almost possessed, she runs. Her companions curse and follow after her, unwilling to leave her alone in whatever awaits. Through the winding cavern, the boots no longer running toward them, they stumble forward into an offbeat hallway, and suddenly they are no longer alone. Two guards stand before them, stunned by the sudden appearance of intruders, and behind those guards, hovering in the air, is a stone. Smooth, unnatural. Before they can shout for reinforcements, Figaro steps forward, tongue as sharp as any blade. His voice drops low, threaded with threat and familiarity. He recognizes one of them, Carl, a man who has spent more than a few nights at the cabaret. Figaro reminds him with the easy menace of someone who knows too much that there are things in this city far more terrifying than a baron's displeasure. Fear wins. One guard bolts, vanishing into the tunnels, but Carl remains, shoulders tense, eyes torn between the floating stone and the stranger standing before him. "I hope you know what you are doing." He removes the badge, fingers lingering on it for a heartbeat, and then lets it fall. The metal clatters against the stone as he turns and runs into the dark. Rowan approaches the floating stone with cautious reverence, letting her senses stretch toward it. Her instincts sharpen, and with the kind of clarity only the gods can grant. A critical insight. She sees it for what it is. The stone is tied to the undead. Lancelot doesn't need the same depth of insight to feel its wrongness. He declares it malevolent, his voice edged with conviction. Almost as if offended, the stone warms in Peony's hands as she reaches towards it. Her breath hitches and her eyes unfocus as her mind leans into it, drawn down into a familiar pit of darkness. Victor, ever quick, moves to steady her hand and touches the stone as well. The moment his fingers meets its surface, an ancient dead energy pulses up his arm and into his bones. It does not feel like magic he knows. It feels older, hungrier, and deeply interested in him. That is enough. Lancelot steps forward, yanks the stone away, and tucks it into his bag. He meets their eyes and says with grim determination that he will bear its burden. Whatever malevolent influence it has over the others, he believes he can resist. Lancelot doesn't show it, but he feels the edges of his mind become infiltrated by thoughts of blood. Haroun crouches and studies the ground where Carl fled. The tracks are smeared, covered by refuse and blood, but not enough to hide. He gauges the flow of the tunnel, the direction of the footprints, and the subtle drag of a boot toe where someone hesitated. They leave the cramped stone chamber and venture out again, searching for an exit. Following Haroun deeper and deeper into the sewer network, the paths twisting and branching like veins beneath the city. The sound of running water, dripping filth, and distant echoes cloaks the movement of others. They fail to notice the approaching rhythm of armored boots. Two guards, more disciplined than Carl, round the corner. Rowan reacts first, pulling on her magic as quickly as she draws breath. She reshapes her features, disguising herself to fit the image of a city guard, but it does not work. Their eyes narrow, and almost immediately steel clangs erupts in the confined space. The party pushes back. Victor, in his usual unnerving fashion, channels something more terrifying than fire or steel, but fear itself. His presence twists, his eyes darkening, and one guard stares at him with dawning horror. He turns and runs. When the last of their immediate foes falls, the party takes stock. Among the scattered gear and blood, they find something far more personal than coin or weapons. Figaro's hands closes around a city guard badge he recognizes, and a sending stone. Why does this have Kaelin's signature? While the others are still sorting through what the guards left behind, Lancelot moves ahead, unwilling to let the fleeing soldiers simply vanish. He stalks through the channels, following the echoes of retreating footsteps, but the advantage of surprise has long since gone. By the time he catches sight of the runway, it is too late. The man is already among a larger group, gasping out fragmented reports. Lancelot watches grim and silent as dozens of guards rally, gathering more. That is when he runs back to the others. There's no time for strategy or debate. He simply tells them to move, and they do. The stench rises with every step they take, clinging to their lungs as they shove past old grates and rusted pipes. Scrambling, slipping, and dragging one another up, and when they fall, the party forces themselves around a bend and into a narrow side passage. They press themselves against damp walls and hold their breath as the thunder of boots roars past them. Then, in the exhausted quiet that follows, they hear something that does not belong in a sewer. Laughter, music, the soft hum of conversation and the clink of glass, all of it undercut by the sickly sweet smell of perfume, trying and failing to mask the scent of death. Drawn forward by a mixture of curiosity, dread, they edge toward the sound. What they find is not a patrol, it is a court. They stumble upon a room transformed into a grotesque parody of nobility. Ornate chairs, fine fabrics, and pale, elegant figures, lounging as if they were in some grand estate instead of a sewer beneath the city. At the center of it all stands the Baron, his shoulders slumped under the weight of their presence. Beside him, a muscular guard grips the arm of a woman. Figaro's eyes widen as he realizes who it was. Kaelin, the once brilliant and lively woman who is seated next to the Baron, now trembles. Her body slick with terror and sweat instead of cabaret glitter. Her eyes are wide, darting between the predators around her. Blackwell clears his throat. His voice is steady, but the dread beneath it is unmistakable. I thank you all for gathering here tonight. A raven-haired, long-horned woman leans against a pillar, amusement dancing in her gaze as it cuts through him. My patience wears thin. Why have you called us here? A man with hair the color as deep as the ocean reclines in his seat, eyes alight with cruel delight as three beyond beautiful women wrap themselves around him. A sewer, Blackwell. The Baron's, whose eyes dart to Kaylin, is shoved forward. She moves like a puppet forced to dance, her fear painting every stiff step. The blue-haired man watches her, eyes tracking each motion with the predator's focus. His smile thins. This entertainment is as poor as your choice of venue, Blackwell. Enough. Show us the stone. The Baron nods and snaps for his guards, demanding they bring forth what was promised. Boosts rush past the party as they push into the shadows behind crates and pipes. As he does, another man shifts, a white-haired man, beautiful in the way of statues carved for forgotten gods. On his lap sits a woman draped entirely in red, a crimson veil covering her face. The man motions towards him and speaks. I know what you seek, Baron. You wish for power. You wish for enough of it to keep her by your side. Their conversation is cut short as across the room Kaylin begins to pray. Her words tumble out like rush, hands clasped tightly, her eyes wild with terror. The blue-haired man rises from his seat, eyes locked on her as he spreads his arms, mockingly inviting. Now. How can you pray to a god when one is standing right before you? Kaylin hesitates, her entire body shaking, eyes bowed down. Please, I won't tell anyone. Mistress will pay anything. Just let me go. If you want someone to dance, Mistress would be better suited. Her pleas are interrupted as the man scoffs as he motions his women to act. His consorts move in an instant, hands like iron claws as they seize Kaylin, dragging her down. The white-haired man lifts his hand, gesturing idly as the three women stop their movements and drag Kaylin to him. He shifts the veiled woman on his lap with casual tenderness, as if adjusting a lover. He studies Kaylin for the briefest moment. Then, with terrifying speed and precision, he strikes, and the room erupts in screams. When he pulls back, the court reacts with a sick devotion, and the blood spills across the stone. The party can't even look. She screams. It's a sound that doesn't sound human anymore. A raw, primal wail that digs its claws into every listening soul and shakes it. Figaro is being held back by Haroon and Lancelot as Victor covers his mouth. Peony covers her eyes as Rowan looks away in petrified horror. It might have continued uninterrupted if not for the sudden appearance of a terrified guard stumbling back into the chamber. Sir, the Bloodstone, it's gone! Fury crackles through the chamber like lightning. They all begin to hiss, voice layering over another in a rising cacophony of rage. The curly, white-haired vampire stands. Find the stone, or we will raze this city to the ground. Every living soul will feed our hunger, starting with your ambassadors, then your citizens, and then your daughter. For the first time, Blackwell's mask breaks. Their beautiful faces swallowed by the dark. The chambers feels empty without them, but no less dangerous. Blackwell turns on his remaining guards, his dread bleeding into rage. Find out who took the stone. Shut down the city. No one leaves. Increase security on Alara, and watch Father Daylin closely. We may have to deal with him sooner than expected. He then storms out of the chambers, running wild with his guards. Our party begins to tremble and Figaro clutches onto his head as he begins to spin in despair.